Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time once again. We are here on a Monday night and it is Raw Review time, brought to you by WWE at Home 219, as known as Kyle. Now, to start off Monday Night Raw, it would be the Apex Predator, Randy Orton, taking on the Money in the Bank holder, Dolph Ziggler. Now, first off, these are two of my favorite superstars. They're both probably in my top five, so I was pretty excited to see this match. It was actually really short because of Del Rio would come out to distract Randy Orton. Randy Orton would actually reverse Dolph Ziggler's finisher, and then Randy would turn that into an RKO for the win. Now, right after that, Randy Orton would end up getting attacked by Ziggler and Del Rio, and it kind of looked like a whole Team Ziggler beating up a Team Foley member. But then Kofi Kingston came to the rescue to save Randy Orton. Then we would see Teddy Long come out for the first time on Raw in what seems like months, and he would demand a tag team match like always. We know good old Teddy and his tag team matches. So it would be Kofi and Randy, two members of Team Foley, taking on Dolph Ziggler and Alberto Del Rio, two members of Team Ziggler, obviously. Now this was a pretty decent matchup. Kofi's SOS looked like it was going to get a 3 count on Del Rio, I think it was, and actually Del Rio would end up kicking out. Ricardo would distract, so Del Rio would pick up the victory as Del Rio and Ziggler get the momentum for Team Ziggler as they defeat Kofi and Randy Orton, which I would say was the whole segment with the Randy Orton match leading into a tag team match. I'd give it 3 out of 5 stars. And then the next would be the segment where Vicky says she has some more evidence on the AJ John Cena scandal. The crowd was really getting at Vicky. They were yelling at Vicky, "Shut up, Vicky!" It was pretty funny. The crowd was pretty good there in Ohio, I think it was, and I can't blame the crowd. Vicky's annoying as hell. AJ would then arrive, and Vicky would basically just tell AJ to admit that she's having an affair with John Cena. AJ says her and Cena are just friends. There's nothing to it. And then AJ just goes on to say that she would love to kick Vicky's ass again, but she can't because then she'll probably get fired. Then Vicky would show us some voicemails that AJ left John Cena, supposedly saying that she wants John Cena, and AJ would still deny it after that. And then of course Cena would come out, and of course he went after Ziggler. He didn't have anything to say. He just attacked Ziggler. All in all, that segment was a 7. What am I saying? 7. 2.5 out of 5 stars, just because it was pretty repetitive, and Vicky's trying to get this point across that they're having an affair, but it's really a boring segment to watch, in my opinion. So 2.5 out of 5 there. This would then lead us to the World Heavyweight Champion taking on former WWE superstar who looks like he's starting to make possibly a little return to the ring, is William Regal. It's basically a squash match. Big Show would win off a choke slam. I give it 2 out of 5. Sheamus would end up coming out to attack the Big Show afterwards and try to make a statement before Survivor Series this Sunday. Then the next matchup would be Layla versus Caitlyn, a number 1 contenders matchup for the Divas Championship, and Divas Champion Eve would be on commentary. A very short matchup. I think it was like 1.5, maybe 2 minutes at tops, and Caitlyn would pick up the pin on Layla. So Caitlyn will face Eve at Survivor Series this Sunday. 2 out of 5 just because it was short. I'm not liking this Raw so far. And then we would finally see the return of the King. Now this was pretty emotional. Jerry the King would go out there and start talking and thank everybody for the prayers. They would show a little segment of what happened 2 months ago when Jerry collapsed on the announce table. Of course CM Punk would have to get his say in this. CM Punk, one of the greater heels in WWE history, interrupts the ending of Jerry the King Lawler's speech to the WWE Universe. Punk's basically just bashing Jerry, making fun of his heart attack, which was not funny in my opinion. I mean, of course this is CM Punk's doing, this is WWE writers, but I feel like CM Punk went too far. You can't make fun of something serious. This was a serious thing. It actually happened to Jerry. He suffered a heart attack, and now they're starting to use this as continuation of a storyline. I don't like that. The WWE needs to think of better ways of going at it. The whole CM Punk and then Paul Heyman faking the heart attack, I thought it was a dick move. Didn't really like it at all. And then Mick Foley would come out. Foley would basically tell CM Punk what I'm saying. You can't make fun of Jerry the King Lawler. He was dead for practically a half hour. You don't make fun of someone for dying. I really liked how Mick Foley had to get his say out there. That was really cool. But the segment 5 out of 5, just how real and how much excitement and passion was in that segment. That's what you want to see in the WWE. That's pushing the boundaries, but I think it might be pushing the boundaries in the wrong way. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about that, maybe in the comments below. But let's move on to the Raw review. Then we'd see an 8-man tag team matchup. Sin Cara, Rey Mysterio, Justin Gabriel, and Tyson Kidd would take on the Primetime Players and Primo and Epico. Now at the beginning of this matchup, Rosa would get this letter from Ricardo. It's probably from Alberto Del Rio. Something's going on with those two. We've been seeing mini clips in the back of them flirting, so we'll see where that leads us maybe in Friday SmackDown. I like this whole Rey Mysterio Sin Cara and the Primetime Players feud they got going on. They're really starting to build this up, and I feel like something's going to be built there. There's going to be something greater in the future. I don't know what it is. Maybe this could be a future title matchup for the tag team champions, but these four are feuding well, and I think their matches are entertaining. Now throw in Gabriel and Kidd and Epico and Primo, and it was possibly maybe some future matches there too. It was a decent matchup. The ending had a lot of great finishing action. A 619 would be set up from Tyson Kidd as he throws. I don't really remember who it is that he threw into the ropes. I'm sorry about that. But the 619 would hit, and then Rey Mysterio would tag in Justin Gabriel, and who would hit a 450 splash, and Sin Cara, Rey Mysterio, Justin Gabriel, Tyson Kidd pick up the victory on Monday Night Raw, which was probably 3.5 out of 5. It was a pretty decent matchup. A lot of high flying action at the end. The ending was really nice. I really like how they did the ending there. And like I said, I like this feud they got with the primetime players, Rey and Sin Cara. And then we would see a little segment in the back how Paul Heyman would confront Brad Maddox about his match that's coming up. Maybe he's planning a deal with Brad Maddox. Who knows? So that was a little segment they showed. Also, another segment was Miz, and it looks like Miz is turning face because he's begging for a chance to be on Team Foley. He just wants revenge, and so it would be a Raw active type vote thing. You could either vote for the Miz, Santina, or Ryder, and I continuously voted for the Miz, and we'll see later in the video who actually will be the last member of Team Foley. The next matchup would be R-Truth versus Tensai, and it just be announced that there will be a match for the U.S. title at Survivor Series with R-Truth and Cesaro. I did call that. If you look back at my videos, I predicted that feud. I predicted this matchup at Survivor Series. So my predictions so far are really doing really well with you guys. I know I don't have a lot of subscribers, but the few that watch, you know that I predicted that. So R-Truth would end up defeating Tensai. Tensai's boring to watch. Nothing against R-Truth. I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5 just because Tensai, he's just dead to me. His gimmick is dead. And I think the A train might be his getting his ass out of the WWE very soon. So then the next matchup would finally be the contract match for Brad Maddox taking on Ryback. If Brad Maddox were to win, he would get a WWE $1 million contract. But that's not how it would go. There was ambulance set up there. There were stretchers getting ready for Brad Maddox's basically building his own grave because Ryback totally dominated. I don't think Maddox got one move in this whole match, so Ryback would end up putting Maddox in the ambulance as it gets carted away. Driven away, and I'll give it 3 out of 5, just because it's pretty predictable that Ryback's obviously going to squash Maddox, and so Ryback picks up the victory over Brad Maddox. Next matchup, Sheamus versus Otunga, another squash match. God, WWE needs to fill in some matches that are actually entertaining instead of just giving squash matches like Sheamus versus Otunga. We've seen this before, and it ended with a bro kick. 2 out of 5, just because we've seen this, and we know what's going to happen. Sheamus is turning in the new Cena, people would call it, where he doesn't lose on Raw. And that's getting old with a lot of people, including myself. So Sheamus defeats Otunga on Monday Night Raw. And then finally we would figure out who the Team Foley's last member is. Kane would partner up with the last member of Team Foley, and the last member of Team Foley would be The Miz, like I predicted in 1 or 2 videos ago. Go back and watch all my other videos, and you will see that these predictions are on point so far. So Kane and The Miz would take on Rhodes Scholars. Pretty good matchup. The Miz and Kane teamed well together, in my opinion. Daniel Bryan was on the sidelines making some funny comments. Daniel Bryan's one of the best things the WWE's got going for them. He's probably in my fave 5, as Booker T would say. So Kane would end up getting a choke slam to win the matchup. So Kane and the Miz get a win, as maybe some momentum for Team Foley is building there with that win. So I'll give it 3.5 out of 5 because it was a pretty decent matchup. And we will see Wednesday on main event, the tag team championships will be on the line as the Miz, not the Miz, Daniel Bryan, Kane take on Rhodes Scholars. And then finally, this would set up for our main event, which would be the WWE Champion CM Punk taking on John Cena with Mick Foley as a special guest enforcer, which basically means he would just sit along the ring and watch the match. Commercial cut off the match, which I don't like. I hate when they cut off the main event, especially when it's Cena and CM Punk. These guys have had one of the greatest feuds, in my opinion, in WWE history. In these past 2 years, they just have gone at it every time. A lot of submissions in the beginning, a lot of holds that were going on. In my opinion, the best match of the night. Heyman would end up interfering in this match, like I suppose, as John Cena was trying to make Punk tap. Punk would then, off the distraction, kick Cena in the head, and I thought that would be it, but Cena would kick out at 2, and then Punk would then go for the GTS, and of course, John Cena would reverse it and turn it into an STF, and then somehow Punk would get to the ropes. Punk would start walking away as he's saying, "I'm done with this. There's no need. I don't need this." And then Ryback would come out and say, "Punk, you're getting back into the ring." So Cena drags Punk back into the ring, AAs him. John Cena defeats CM Punk in the main event of Raw. And then we would see a stare down between Cena and Ryback as they're grabbing the belts together. And then CM Punk kind of looks like he's weeping in the distance as he's kind of scared of Ryback and Cena. So I'll give that match 4 out of 5. Best match of the night, in my opinion, because Cena and Punk are always fun to watch. All in all, I'll give Raw 6 out of 10 because the wrestling was kind of short, the matches were cut off, but the promos and the talking segments on Raw were pretty entertaining, especially Jerry the King Lawler segment with Punk, very controversial. So tell me what you thought of today's Monday Night Raw. I'm sorry for the length, but I like to get into detail about my matches. Guys, try to get my name out there. I'm trying to get some more followers, subscribers, I guess you would call it. I like talking to you guys. So tell me what you thought of today's Raw, or I should say tonight's Raw. And like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, and take it easy.